Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and for today's video I will be talking about the soft skills that are essential when you're working in IT. In this video we are going to talk about what soft skills are necessary when working in IT, examples of how these soft skills are applied, and tips on improving soft skills. So I think that learning all the knowledge and skills needed in IT is not enough to be successful in this career or in other areas in tech. There is really no point in knowing all of the computer knowledge by the book and all of the skills if you're not applying them at work, because management cares about the results on how you deliver on implementing the knowledge and skills that you have. So here are the soft skills that are essential when you are working in IT to become successful. Okay, so on top of this list is communication skills. This is both written and verbal. So I think gone are the days where an IT professional just sits in front of the computer all day doing work. We also need clear and effective communication skill because it is vital for conveying technical concepts to non-technical stakeholders, collaborating with team members, and understanding client needs. So I'm going to give examples on how we use communication skills in our work, and I will categorize communication skills in two categories, written and verbal. So we do a lot of written communication skills at work. We do write emails almost every day. So there are best practices and tips on how to learn how to effectively communicate through email. So if you're communicating with the users or your coworkers, make sure that everything is straightforward and you simplify as much as you can without all the technical jargon. Okay, so here's an example of an email that you can send to the user. So it's simple and brief and easy for them to understand. And there's also no need to mention about what kind of vulnerabilities there is for their laptop. It's also easier for them to cooperate with you if they're not seeing long paragraphs of email, because most likely they will ignore that. Then also, you just don't email the users, you also email your team a lot. Examples of these emails are the things that you have done or have not done, so that everyone is aware on what's going on. It's really better to over communicate than have a lack of communication, especially when there are important and critical work that you're doing, especially projects that are impactful for productivity or production. It's really important to give your team a heads up if you're working on something, especially if there's alerts that are coming up. So here is an example of email alerts when the router is down. So if you're working on the router, just make sure to reply on this alert saying that you're working on this issue, so at least your team knows that someone is working on it. Next category under communication is verbal communication. Of course, we do talk to people all the time, especially if you're in IT, especially if you're an entry-level IT, you will be dealing with a lot of users most of the time. So when you're dealing with users, just make sure that you are simplifying everything. Don't really talk about a lot of technical jargon. A lot of our users or co-workers are not that tech savvy, so they probably wouldn't understand all those tech jargons. Also ask very simple questions, very simple, straightforward questions. Do not elaborate on like a software version, because they probably won't have an answer for that. So just as much as possible, ask questions that are answerable by yes or no. And also please be empathetic to the users. Most of them are frustrated and not tech savvy, and you're there to help them. Don't be condescending, don't be insulting towards them. Also, a best practice is communicating the ETA when you're working on something, especially if it's a critical or an urgent issue. Always say when you will be able to finish it, but the key in here is to don't overpromise and under-deliver. Always give like an allowance on the time that you think you will be done. For example, something will be done in 5 minutes. Say that it'll be done in 10 to 15 minutes instead, because sometimes things happen. Always important to not overpromise something that, oh, it will be done in 5 minutes, but you're not sure if it's gonna get done that quick. So there are also times that you are going to be talking to management, especially when you're implementing projects, and sometimes they do have questions for us, especially on the status of the projects. So same when dealing with users, always talk about the ETA. When are you going to be delivering, or when is this project going to end, or what the timeline of the project is, so they can visualize what is happening. And always keep them posted on updates. For example, something got postponed, a delivery of a device got postponed, let them know or give them a heads up at least that the project will be delayed for like 2 weeks, so at least they have that kind of expectation. Also talk about metrics. It's very important with management, like talk about return on investment and customer satisfaction, about what this project is gonna bring to the organization, like what value it can bring, why are we doing this project, what cost are we gonna cut when we buy this new devices. So those are the kind of communication that you have to do when you're talking to management. So again, I think gone are the days where an IT professional is the only one that is working on computers in the organization. I think now there's usually a team, like a manager or technicians or the specialist. So it's very rare to just be the only IT person that is working in an organization in these times. Or even if you're working in a small business, you are still gonna have to work with different teams, like accounting team, the management team. So regardless if you're the only IT or if you're in a team, you should know how to be a team player and you should know how to do teamwork. So I think this is also important as well, because in these times there are a lot of things that you can't do on your own because you have to work with another team that does a part of your work, or you would need help from another team because they're the only ones who have access to that kind of work. So it's really important to get along with people, learn how to get along, don't be an asshole, and really building relationship with your team and other people is also just as important. Because yes, even if you're smart or even if you think you're that smart but you can't get things done, you need to collaborate with other people, and you really don't know how to get along with other people, you're not going to be successful in completing projects and completing work. And what's the use of being smart if you can't get work done? So it's really important to have good relationships with people. Okay, so attention to detail or being detail oriented is also another important soft skill in IT. IT work often requires meticulous attention to detail to ensure accuracy, maintain security, and prevent errors in configuration and testing. It is very important to be detail-oriented, especially when you are documenting machines and their IP address, and also when you're doing asset management as well. So best practice in being detail-oriented is to always double-check your work and have your peer check your work as well, because another set of eyes will be so much helpful when you are dealing with a lot of documents, because sometimes you might miss something and other people might catch it. Also, if you are sending very important communication to, for example, all employees or something critical, make sure that it's approved by management first before you send it out, just to make sure that you have covered your bases and that you have done everything properly. At least it's approved by someone else. Also, time management is an important soft skill to have when you're working in IT. It's important to know how to prioritize, of course, the urgent and critical issues than the low priority ones. And for example, you are swamped or it got hectic for you, you should learn how to delegate it to your team and just communicate properly that you are working on a critical issue and you want someone else to work on like another issue with someone. If you have built a good relationship with your team, it'll be so much easier to just ask them for help. Also, another best practice for time management is just to set an alarm if you're trying to do something routine, like for example every Thursday you are doing some patching. It's really helpful to just have an alarm set so you are keeping track of your daily task. Another important soft skill is adaptability. The IT field is constantly evolving, so professionals need to be adaptable and open to learning new technologies, tools, and methodologies. So you should always be open to learning new systems and learning how to use those new systems. We are working in IT, you should know what you signed up for when you try to learn IT, that it's gonna be like this. So if you're not very adaptable, especially to current trends and new technology, I don't think IT or the tech industry is for you. Okay, so always stay curious and always learn about what's going on with technologies. Like at least read something like once or every 2 weeks on like the manufacturers that or the vendors that you're using in the company, because sometimes they will announce that they will be out of business, and if you're still using their technology, you should be aware of those kinds of things. Also, at least have a mentality of being ahead of the game. and just anticipating the changes that is coming. So like every quarter or every 6 weeks, like do some research or reading about the systems that you will be using, and look at the end of life for systems like Windows. If you have been using Windows in your organization, you're using the license, just anticipate and be prepared and research on what the end of life for Windows 10 is, for example, so that when that time comes, you will be prepared and you will be ahead of the game, and you have already upgraded to Windows 11, for example, because you have anticipated the changes that are coming. So that is part of our job in IT as well. Okay, so I know that I might have missed a lot of other important soft skills as well. So if I missed something, please do leave it in the comment section below. I try to cover as much as I can, but please feel free to share all of the other soft skills that you can think of as well. So I hope you guys learned something from this channel and this video today. I hope you enjoyed watching today's video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.